All right, the middle of the Saturday games, 49ers at the Cardinals. The line opened up Cardinals -5. It went down to 3.5. There was sharp money on San Francisco, and then it popped up to 4.5. There's a ton of public money on Arizona, so this is a very public versus sharp kind of game. So who do you like here?
So I am with the public here, or at least I was. I'm a little torn on this game now because one of the big reasons that I was in on this game was Nick Mullens has just played awful recently and has committed so many turnovers. Like you said, 7 games in a row with the turnover, I think. And the 49ers turned the ball over 29 times this year, second most to only the Denver Broncos. But now Mullens is out for the rest of the year with an elbow injury. So we might see CJ Beathard start if Jimmy Garoppolo can't get back. And, Beathard isn't great, but I thought he played better than Mullens in limited action this year. So that might have just been some garbage time performance in a game that didn't really matter as much. But I'm at least a little bit giving pause to this number with Beathard in. That said, I still look at the Cardinals, and I think that their offense is just clicking. Kyler Murray's healthy, and he's playing better right now than he was when his shoulder was bugging him or whatever else was wrong. So I think that his performance is huge. Their defense has been getting a ton of pressure too. Hassan Reddick's really coming on. Dennis Gardeck, who I hadn't heard of until this season, had a couple sacks of Jalen Hurts last week. So he's been doing well every time I see them on. So I think they have some pieces on defense to get to the 49ers quarterback, and Raheem Mostert's also out for the year. And the 49ers seem to be one of those teams that are shutting down any key players with injuries and just rolling with whatever they have. So I could see San Francisco not being willing to really compete in this game. But at the same time, this is a divisional opponent. And with that new starter, if Beathard just doesn't turn the ball over, I could easily see this being a field goal game. So I'm going to still tentatively be on the Cardinals. But my unit count on this one right now is 0. And unless I see a lot more injuries on the 49ers side, I'm going to probably not bet this one.
Yeah, I actually like San Francisco quite a bit, and I know that like everyone is betting on Arizona here. Like it's kind of crazy, except for the Sharps. I think that the 49ers should be able to run the ball in Arizona. Like the Cardinals aren't that good against the run, and the 49ers can establish a rushing attack, and I think they can control the clock. And as long as Beathard doesn't force like any bad passes like Mullens has, like they should be able to keep this game close. And I think it's going to be a field goal game. I feel like San Francisco's kind of, I think people have forgotten like how good they can be. You know, they beat the Rams in Los Angeles with Mullens as the starting quarterback. The past couple of games they've lost. So like, yeah, they lost to the Bills, which is understandable. Like the Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL. And then they lost to the Redskins in kind of a game where the Washington defensive line dominated. And then last week they committed 4 turnovers. And despite the 4 turnovers, they almost won. Like it was a tie game, and they had the ball over midfield, and they could have won that game. They outgained Dallas by about 200 yards in that game. So they were definitely the better team. And I think that Arizona, like, there's 2 things going against Arizona here that I don't like. I really don't like for them. Like one, I think they might overlook the 49ers because they have to play the Rams next week, and they're coming off a big win at home, like at the last second. So they could be flat against San Francisco. And the second thing is, and this is something I've tracked. So like this is not an official stat or anything. This is just something I tracked. So I might have missed a few games here and there. But ever since I've been handicapping games on my site, like for 21 years now, in week 16 and 17, if there's a team that needs to win and they're playing a team that's eliminated from the playoffs, those teams are 58 and 93 against the spread. I used to call it the Aurora Sno Mo Effect. Maybe I can still do that. But I think that like these teams like tend to choke in the clutch. And the teams that don't have anything to play for kind of like, hey, let's try to knock off this team. And I think that could be the 49ers goal here. Like the 49ers lost to Arizona in week 1 at home. They could be looking for revenge, kind of like the Cardinals kind of derailed their season sort of. So I think that the Niners are, I think they're going to be more motivated than Arizona in this game, despite Arizona needing to win. So that's why I like the 49ers. It wouldn't surprise me if they pulled the upset, but I think it's going to be a field goal game either way.
Yeah, I like your argument there. And like I said, like I was on Arizona bigger when I thought it was going to be Nick Mullens. So once I see the injury report, I could switch sides. Like if the 49ers are healthier than I think they're going to be, then maybe I'll go opposite the public and with the Sharps in this one. I don't think I'm quite willing to do that yet, just because I like the way Kyler Murray's been playing. But the Aurora Sno Mo Effect is definitely real, because we always see that it's like, oh, they have to win this game and they're trailing in the fourth quarter. So if it does end up being that kind of game, and we're getting 4.5, so we're getting key number 3, and 4 is less of a key number, as we've talked about before, but it's still, if you're down 3 late and score a game-winning touchdown and get up to 4 and the spread's 4.5, you still don't cover. So that one will be one I think about more as Saturday approaches, but the 49ers injury report will be the most interesting one to watch of the early 4, I think.
Yeah, this is something I first noticed. I forget what year it was. It was like maybe 2005 or 6, and like in week 17, there were like 4 teams that needed to win to make the playoffs. And like if team A lost, team B would get in. If team B lost, if team B and A lost, team C would get in, and so forth. Like all those teams lost, and because all those teams lost, team A ended up getting in, even though they lost. So like that kind of made me think, like, hey, wait a second, maybe these teams that need to win, like they usually don't. And I forget who said it. It was like a famous NFL handicapper. I think it might have been Dave Koken. He said that if a team needs to win, they're probably not good in the first place. So then again, I do like Arizona. They stumbled a bit because Murray was hurt and now he's healthy. So I don't know if that applies to them, but I think the Niners are going to be super motivated. Speaking of old times, I can't find the comment. Someone asked me if this is the first Friday game I've seen. There's one in 2005. There was a hurricane, and so they had to play the game ahead of time. So it was I think it was Chiefs versus Dolphins, and they applied for a special exemption. So there's that. And then we have a question here: is it me, or is it Cam Newton not a starting NFL caliber quarterback anymore? So this is your account. So what do you think?
So I think it's hard to evaluate whether or not he is. If you base it solely on this year, the answer would be no. But there are a few things to remember. The first is that he's not playing with very good weapons. The second is there was an abbreviated offseason, and he came to the team late, so he had less time to learn the system. The third thing is the one that gives me the most pause. It's his injury history. He just gets so banged up now, and it just seems like he can't throw the ball as well as he used to, or his shoulder and hand just doesn't hold up. Earlier in the year, we fell victim to the Broncos beating the Patriots because we didn't see Newton hit his hand, or he hit his hand in the Broncos game and then couldn't throw against the 49ers. So he just has a knack for getting banged up, and he's an older running quarterback. So I would say that I think he can be a backup in this league, but I think it's like if you can't really rely on him for 16 games anymore. That's just my take on it. And I know he's been healthy, or at least on the field most of the season, but he has been dealing, I think, with nagging injuries, which is a problem.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like if he's healthy, I think he can be an average or maybe below average starter, but he's never healthy, like you said. Like you just can't count on him. So I want to say I don't think he's going to start next year, but I think if a quarterback goes down in training camp, they might call him up, kind of like the Dolphins did with Jay Cutler a couple years ago when Ryan Tannehill got hurt. I think he's going to be like one of the first guys you call if there's an injury. So I think I have a feeling he's going to start somewhere next year, but he definitely does not look like he can play right now. I mean, he's banged up. Like he has other injuries too.